If you're not a runner, the idea that someone could be addicted to running is probably mind-boggling. The idea that someone could be addicted to a form of exercise that, upon trying it for the first couple times, is so miserable just does not make sense to most people. But it happens. And in fact, a lot of you admitted that you yourselves are addicted in a video I made recently. So why does this happen, and how do people become addicted to exercise? I've often mentioned being addicted to running, but I've never really done a full deep dive into why exactly this happens to us, psychologically, physiologically. So let's just jump into it. There are multiple reasons why, multiple factors that come into why someone could be addicted to running. Running addiction is also referred to exercise dependency. And unfortunately, exercise dependency isn't clinically diagnosable, so we don't really know how big of a problem this is. But I think most of you who are watching this video would agree that it's not nothing. There is exercise dependency out there. And like I said, there are multiple factors that factor into why someone would be addicted to exercise. So let's jump into it. First, we have community. And at first glance, you might think, wow, why would community affect addiction? Find me an addict that is not surrounded by fellow addicts. And so it only takes, 30 seconds for you to open Instagram, type in #running or something like that, and you'll find a community full of people that absolutely idolize running and take it beyond just a hobby into a lifestyle. It takes over your life. And don't get me wrong, community can be amazing. So much good comes from a running community. In fact, the pros, I believe, far outweigh the cons. However, when you surround yourself with a bunch of people that feel the exact same way you do, it becomes an echo chamber very quickly. And in that echo chamber, people can take a healthy practice too far to the point where it becomes unhealthy, where it becomes an addiction, and you push yourself beyond what you were initially there for. And I think this is especially true for online communities. For example, Strava. There is a reason why I am not on Strava, and it's because it was not healthy for me. I'm not saying it's not healthy for everyone, but for me, I had to take a step away. So, first, community. Second, along the same lines, is our community of one, ourselves. We tend to be much harder on ourselves than anyone else would be around us. And I am no exception to this. I have pushed myself beyond what is healthy multiple times in order to never miss a run or to perform in a race that, at the end of the day doesn't matter in comparison to my overall health. And so we need to be careful that as we push ourselves to become healthier, that we're not pushing ourselves beyond that and being too hard on ourselves when it comes to our body image and our running performance, because that is addiction, pushing yourself into unhealthy habits. And the third reason why a lot of us are addicted to running is that we use running as our exclusive coping mechanism for our mental health. I think every runner at one point has said, running is my therapy, or running is cheaper than therapy. If you haven't said it yourself, then you've heard someone say it. And while it is scientifically true that running is therapeutic, it should not be a replacement for therapy. And I'm not saying that every person or every runner needs therapy, but what I am saying is that when we use running as our only and exclusive way to cope with the difficulties that come with life, we end up using running to avoid stress, to avoid anxiety, to avoid all of the issues that cause stress and anxiety. I hope that makes sense, because I think that's one of the number one reasons why running becomes an addiction, is because we are running from our problems. We run to avoid our difficult emotions instead of facing them head on and getting to the root of the problem. And the fourth reason, moving beyond kind of the more surface level things, we're getting into now the chemical reactions that happen. And this is specifically the reward pathways in our brain. Running is like a drug. The same systems in our brain that produce a liking for drugs are responsible for that same response in natural gratifying behaviors like exercise. Both drugs and running influence the reward pathways in our brain. So the systems around endorphins and serotonin and dopamine. And along those same lines, the last thing I want to talk about is the infamous runner's high. There's a reason why it's called that, and it's because the high that you get from cannabis and the high you get from running are incredibly similar physiologically. And that's thanks to endogenous opioids and endocannabinoids, and those are naturally occurring molecules that are produced by your nervous system, and they interact with their respective receptors in your brain, and they produce feelings of euphoria, and they reduce feelings of stress and anxiety. All of that to say, running helps you feel better, it makes you feel more euphoric, and it reduces feelings of anxiety and stress and depression. At the end of the day, what is actually fueling our addiction is that it is never enough. We're never satisfied, whether that's with our performance, our body image, with the feelings that we get, and then we build up tolerances to these naturally occurring systems that happen in our brain and body, and then we want more. We push running beyond what it should be doing for us, and we take it to an unhealthy level. And so what I hope we can do moving forward is that we can be more aware of our own relationship to running, and then maybe also look out for our fellow runners. Because I think what the key is balance. If we have balance, then we don't push ourselves beyond what is healthy into unhealthy practices. If we have balance, then we can enjoy all of the benefits of running without taking it to an unhealthy level. Anyways, I think I've said enough on this topic. So I am not an expert. And so if you think that I've missed any factors that come into this equation when it comes to exercise dependency or running addiction, I'd love to know if you think that there's something else out there that we need to be aware of. Because like I said, this is not a diagnosable condition. And so we don't know how big the problem is. We don't have a lot of, or really any data behind this. And so anyways, if this was interesting or helpful or thought-provoking at all, stick around. I'll catch you in the next video.